You could say I was the punk model.
And so we bring you Dirty Old Boston.
What did you think was cool when you were like 17, 18, 19?
Oh, I was into, Twiggy and all the British invasion music. It was the stupidest thing. My mother had this Motorola portable radio that was on top of the refrigerator, and I had to do the dishes every night. And I'd be washing the dishes, and then the Yardbirds would come on, and I'd go, and I'd stand, 3 inches from the refrigerator, just stare up at this stupid radio, because it wasn't stereo or anything. That was the only way I could hear it better. My mother would come like, "What the hell are you doing now?" I said, "Well, listen to the radio."
And music was just like, it was an escape for you, or it was...
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, what did you find in the music or in the shows, or what was there for you?
I've always been into dressing. I've always been into music. I would go hear a band. I would have to be right in front, because I wasn't there to be a groupie. I was there because I was really, really into music, and I wanted to see fingers on a fretboard. I wanted to see that, magic. It's stupid. The guy on Actor's Studio, and he asks the questions at the end, and when he says, "What turns you on?"
Yeah.
For me, it's like when you're watching somebody play guitar, right? And they take their baby finger and ring finger, and they do the tone and volume knobs. It's the stupidest thing, but for some reason that really turns me on.
Okay. Hey, we all got our things.
And I was lucky. And again, I'm not tooting my own horn. All I had to do was stand there, and whoever was playing I would meet, or I met.
Because you were the itch.
I got to meet a lot of people.
You had a look, and you did.
I did,
and
it was people would say to me, "How do you meet these people?" I'd say, "Well, first of all, I don't just have on jeans and a t-shirt."
Yeah.
I sail into the place.
All that time in the mirror paid off, huh?
It did.
Yeah.
It did. I went to the Kirkland one night. My boyfriend was playing, and he was in a country western band, kind of alternate country thing, Yalternative, and have a big cowboy hat and boots and everything. I came in one night, and Hank Suskin, the MC of the show, comes twittering out. He goes, "Oh, I was in the men's room. I missed your entrance." That was I make an entrance.
Okay.
It makes a difference.
So you had total confidence in that setting.
Oh,
you go into a club, you're going to get attention, and you're going to pick the guy that you want it from.
It's not so much that I pick who I want it. I'm there because I want to see
you're
who's
going to get
playing.
the attention, and you can be cool in that room.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And did that help wash away any of the stuff from when you were a kid, when you were getting negative, people were being mean to you, or being shitty to you?
Oh, there's a part of me that thinks that Eric Clapton never asked you out.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, that's...
But you got to think, too. You got to, you get away from it, you step back, and you say, all right,
Well, but that's the question.
People make fun of things that they don't understand.
Do you remember the first time you got into, let's call it a rock club, what club it was? You sneak it when you're 16 or something. Do you...
I know exactly. I was 1964, the Yarmouth A-Go-Go. I saw the Animals. I saw the Barbarians open for the Animals. And it was just I was fucked after that. That was just from that point on, I knew that,
How'd you get into?
To
get a
have
fake
them,
ID?
you hear them on the radio day in and day out, and all of a sudden they're standing right in front of you. It was just I was in heaven, So it was Ruthie and Betty Long. They were no relation. Their family was from Brockton. They were friends of my parents, their parents, and they trusted them, and they let me go. They should have been sorry, but they let me go.
Did you guys drink? Did you?
No, it was not that. I was really...
And it wasn't scary
for you. You have to stop
you?
and think about what if it was 1964, I was 13.
Right. I would think for a little girl going into a place like that, it would be terrifying because like there's all these grown men, there's people drinking, and like it's rough. You didn't feel that? You didn't feel afraid of it?
No, I was right up front. I was in heaven.
So you were fearless about it. It's just cool.
You know what is really funny is I went to see Eric Clapton. I was separated from Josh and Mike's dad for, like 2 years, I guess. And I saw him on television. He looked fabulous. He had this pink linen suit on, and his hair was lying. I was like, oh, my God, he looks great. So I started daydreaming about him. That's how I, get by. It's like I daydream. So I was in a record store. I was in Mystery Train, and I saw a flyer that said, 4 Clapton tickets. So I bought them. And I called my brother-in-law, and I said, I have these. I don't drive, so getting to Great Woods was a problem. So I called Johnny, and I said, I have these 4 tickets, and I'll pay for the tickets, and you and me will go, and if you can find somebody that will drive us there. So he had a couple of friends from, I don't know, Brockton, Westbridge, wherever they were from. So we go, and the tickets were on the lawn, like way the fuck back. But I knew the guy who was the head of security, Earl, did the Orpheum and all of those places. So I go and say, Earl, I can't see anything. He says, come with me. So he walks me like halfway down the concrete wall in the front section. He says, here, you can stand here, you'll be fine. So I'm dancing. And again, clothing figures into it. I had a black...
Yeah, what'd you have on? Okay.
I had a black backless halter top. I had black crushed velvet, high-waisted pants, like a cigarette leg, but a high-waisted cummerbund. I had little black flats, and I had my hair up in a French twist. So I looked a little bit like Audrey Hepburn in Sabrina, kind of like that. So, dancing, and the security people would come up, and they'd say, are you all right there? Would you like a chair? And I'm going, no, I'm fine, really, Then they came up, and, people start to leave before they don't want to get caught in the traffic. So they come up to me, and they go, wouldn't you be more comfortable in the front row? There's an empty seat in the front row. I'm like, all right. So then I'm in the front row. I'm thinking, wow, this is swell. So Clapton, he starts, Nathan East, the bass player, was in front of me. And he's, and they're doing a Cream song, and he and I are kind of in this groove. I'm standing, I'm dancing. And he kind of dances over to Clapton, and he whispers, I don't know what he said, but next thing I know, Clapton's standing right in front of me, and he's doing this incredible guitar solo. He's like, just wailing. And I'm thinking, I can't believe he's standing right in front of me, and he's got his eyes closed. But he saw me. So the band would go off stage, and then the drummer would do this, really intense, really long drum solo. And all of a sudden, this guy, bounces out from behind the PA system. He walks up to me, and he goes, excuse me, miss. He said, Eric would like it very much if you would come back tomorrow night. He'd like to meet you. I said, wait, Eric who? He goes, oh, that's really funny. He said, no. He said, we're, all behind the PA system. He said, there's a really pretty girl, and go ask her if she'll come back tomorrow night. I said, oh, okay. I have no idea who's going to take care of my children. I don't know how I'm going to get there. I would have walked if I had to.
Yeah.
But I'm like, and I'm blown away, really. So he said, all right. He said, stay right here. He said, don't leave. He said, when they're done, I'll come back, and I'll get your information. So he did. He came back, and he took my name, and he said, will +2 be all right? And I said, +2 is great. So I go home. And I'm, telling Johnny and the other 2 guys. And I said, well, all right. I said, Johnny, you're going. I said, you 2 are going to have to duke it out. I'm sorry. I'm not going to ask for no. Right. 4 would be better, So, and they did. And they were pretty good about it. So, but, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, nah, it's got to be a joke. This shit like this doesn't happen, But we went. I went up to the will call window, and I could see, the guest list. And after everybody's name, it was like a record label, but after mine, it said EC. Wow. So we go into the dressing room or the hospitality room, and I'm sitting there, and I'm really nervous. And I've met a lot of rock stars. I have. I've met a lot.
At that point, you had met a lot?
Oh, yeah. I had already met a lot of people. But I was really nervous because this was somebody that
And what did you think was going to happen? Like, he was going to just come in and sweep you off your feet? And, like, how did you think it was going to go? What was your daydream? Because you said you daydream all the time,
I did.
Right? So, like, what's your best case scenario?
Well, I mean, ideally, he could have carried me off to his castle in Surrey.
Right.
That would have been okay. But I didn't think any of that was going to happen.
You just thought it was you were going to meet him,
I was just excited
see how
to
it goes.
meet him.
Yeah.
All right. But so I was sitting there, and I had gotten a cup of coffee, and the guy comes along. It was turned out to be his guitar technician, and he goes, "Oh, you made it." He said, "That's lovely." He said, "I have to go do something." He said, "I'll be back in about 5 minutes." I said, "Okay." So then he comes back, and he's got Clapton with him, and I'm shitting my pants. I'm thinking I'm going to take my coffee cup and go, really. And I was sitting, so that was good. And he comes over, and he goes, "Eric Clapton, I'd like you to meet Jan Long Collins." Jan Long Collins, this is Eric Clapton. And I said, "Hi." And I said, I'm still a little... I said, "Thank you for inviting me." I said, I'm still a little, and I'm like waving at my face, like to indicate that I'm like, I can't even process this. So he said, "Well, I saw you, and you were so beautiful. How could I not?" And I went, I'm like, really?
Yeah.
So he asked if I minded if he sat down, and everything he said to me.
And he's just full hitting on you at this point.
That
sounds like hitting to me. Yeah. Okay.
So he says, "Do you mind if I spend that?" And I said, "Go ahead." My mind's going, "What are you, nuts?" I'm going to say no. But he sat down, and it was really crazy. It was like I had a boyfriend that was in one of Stephen Stills' bands, and then he was in a band with Jim Gordon, who was like one of the best studio drummers. Jim Gordon was an amazing drummer, and he but he was like schizophrenic. Everybody thought it was the drinking and the drugs, but he was clinically like schizophrenic, and he bludgeoned his mother to death.
Wow.
Yes.
Wait, you dated that guy?
No, I knew him. He said I was prettier than Miss Indian Summer Princess. So, all bludgeoning aside,
but he did compliment me, so he wasn't a total.
I was like the guy.
He was all right in my book.
Well, he co-wrote Layla.
Okay.
All right. So Jim Gordon was in Derek and the Dominoes with Clapton, and he co-wrote Layla. So we were talking about him, It was kind of funny. It was like, I'd been separated for a very long time. And we're talking about Jim Gordon, and I was going, "Yeah, he played with everybody. He played." And Clapton's going, "Yeah, he played with everybody." We're going back and forth. And all of a sudden we looked, it was like, "Wow, was that as good for you as it was for me?" I mean, like, really? And he says to my brother-in-law, he says, I don't know if you know who we're talking about or anything. But it was, it was really... Then at one point we got to talking about clothes, and he
and
said,
so you guys are hanging out. This is kind of backstage.
It's like there's a big hospitality room, and you can
and you're just hanging,
just sitting at a table. There's people all around.
Had they already gone on, or they were off stage?
No, it was before. It was like for an hour before hand. So he leans back. We were talking about clothes and stuff, and he leans back and he stretches and he went, "Oh, nice shoes." That's when I puffed up like a peacock.
Yeah. It's
like you look like what you look, but if you have good taste in shoes, that'll take you far in life. So he loved my shoes. And then, it was time for him to get ready, and he was saying, "Well, I thought I might wear a suit." He said, "Do you think because I think it was like Versace was doing his stage. It was either Versace or Armani was doing his stage clothes and everything." And I was like, "Oh, sure, wear a suit."
Yeah.
So he was very charming. He said he had to go and get ready. I said, "All right." So I stood up, and I didn't see it coming. He leaned around, he put his arm around me, and he went to kiss me, and I jumped. I just shot up like a rocket. And then he jumped, and I can only imagine what it looked like. I was really embarrassed. But in my head, I thought, all right, well, Oh, because he made a big deal about wanting to see me again.
Yeah.
And it was...
So he said, okay, I'm going to go on stage. Mm-hmm. Did he want to see you after the show? Are you going to stick around?
Well, you remember the whole Stevie Ray Vaughan helicopter thing, right?
I don't know, but...
Oh, well, yeah, because this was 1991. There was a helicopter crash, and Stevie Ray Vaughan died. Other people died. But Clapton would walk off stage, and he would, get taken to an airport or whatever. He would get flown to Lake George, and he would fish all day.
Okay.
He's really into fly fishing.
Yeah.
So, and I gave him a hand-tied fly. This was the first part of the conversation when he first came in the room.
I'm sorry. I thought you were going to say hand job.
No,
I gave him my hand. I was like, whoa.
I didn't do that.
No.
No, I'm a nice girl when it comes right down to it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
I'm very Yankee. No, that's fine. But
you gave him a hand tie. So you knew that he was into doing that. So you brought it with you.
And it was a hand-tied fly that my brother-in-law Johnny's grandfather had made. Johnny inherited his tackle box.
Wow.
So he gave it to me in one of those little plastic jewel boxes, like from a quarter machine.
Was he really impressed by that you would do something so considerate?
You could see he was really surprised, because I was sitting down and he was still standing, kind of towering over me. And I said, well, I brought you a present. And he said, you brought me a present? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, what is it? And I said, well, this is the mother of me. I said, do you have a pocket? I'm such an idiot. So I take the little box out of my pocket, and he goes, oh, it's a fly. He goes, is it a wet fly or a dry fly? And I said, how the hell do I know? I don't know, Johnny. What is it? I don't even remember anymore, but he's put it in his pocket. I didn't want him to lose it. I don't even remember why I knew that he fly fished, but I did. But that was why he wanted me. Well, he was. He had played 3 nights. I was at the second night when he saw me. The third night was when he invited me to come back. The next night he was playing in Long Island at the Nassau Coliseum. And as it happens, I had been supposed to take Josh and Mike to visit their grandparents in Hicksville, Long Island. And when Clapton invited me, I thought that might be more fun than going to my mother-in-law's. So I kind of said, well, and I told him, I was supposed to go to New York, but I decided this would be better. He asked me what I was going to do then. I said, well, I'm going to take my children. Oh, you have children? Yes. He said, oh, how old are they? I said, 8. He said, wait, one's 8. How old's the other one? I said, well, they're 8. He's a little slow on the uptake. But he went through this whole thing about, will your in-laws think it's weird? Or because Nassau Coliseum's only like one town away from where they live and stuff. So I was like, no, they want me to be happy, and they know their son. So that was fine. But then he never called me.
Mm. Did you feel really disappointed? Were you waiting by the phone for it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was. I admit it. Wow. But I thought it was
Why do you think he didn't call?
I don't know, and that's the part that bugs me.
Do you think he was just trying to get laid, and it was if it didn't happen that night, he just was whatever? Or
I wouldn't have thought that. I'll tell you one thing. I've known Peter Wolf for years. He stood me up in 1979, and every time he sees me, and I haven't seen him for a while. We run into each other, with some frequency, and whoever he's talking to, he'll say to me, "Tell him the story." I'll say, "No, come on." He'll say, "No, come on, you tell it better. Tell him the story." And he wants me to tell them about how he stood me up. So I generally comply, and people get a big kick out of it and stuff. And I wouldn't talk to him for years. I mean, I was bullshit. I was embarrassed, because he came into the store where I worked in Harvard Square, and everybody saw him come in. Everybody knew that he came to see me. And where are you going? Where's he going to take you and stuff? And Simon, my boyfriend Simon, and I, we were at a Peter Wolf show. Peter says, go ahead, tell her the story. I said, Peter, you're not the first person that stood me up. You probably won't be the last. He goes, well, why? Who else stood you up? And I said, let me think. Oh, how about Eric Clapton? He said, really? And I said, yeah. And he said to my boyfriend, who's always been a little self-conscious about the whole thing, he says, I'm going to tell you something. I know Clapton and I know you, and she's much better off with you. I thought his buttons were going to pop off his shirt. He couldn't have made the guy happier. I felt like, no, I didn't really think he was going to take me away from all of this.
Yeah.
But I felt like, hey, I didn't ask to meet you.
Exactly. He asked you to come and see him, and
Right.
so there he was thinking of something.
Right. I would have been perfectly happy to sit there for an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, that was really exciting. And I would have been, I was like thrilled to death that he loved my shoes.
Maybe the fly didn't catch any fish.
Maybe. That's funny. Anyway, I don't know.
Okay.
My point being is that, I never really tried. I hate being accused of being a groupie. I really do, because I think that's a very derogatory term. And I was never out to get laid. I just loved music, and I could just absorb it, and
Well, the way you talk about it and describe it, like you said, your experience of like walking into a club and like hearing live music was just everything for you. Like for me, it's the total opposite.
Really?
Everyone, there's too many people here. I have to pay attention
funny.
to too many things. I can't even hear the music. Like it's just a whole range of discomfort.
Oh, I'm in all my glory.
Yeah, no. I would rather sit at home and like listen to a CD than go to a place and listen to live music.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so we're totally opposites on that end. So the music just does something for you that's your place.
Like, that's the reason, like, some musicians pick up a guitar is for the girl. Like, that's, like, part
that's part of it.
They
Yeah.
love that. They love, like, your adoration and everything.
Yeah.
Like when you were looking at Twiggy and like looking at magazines when you were, like 16, 17, 18, could you see like the sex appeal in it, or did it just look like cool to you? Like, did you get that dynamic where you...
For one thing, you have to stop and think, when I was really young, it's not like, a 16 or 17-year-old today.
Right.
I mean, I was just out of ankle socks.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. It sounds like a naivety of just like...
Oh, yeah.
You're just into, it looks cool. It's
Yeah.
not... Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was different in so much as that, I was reading things like Mel Lyman's Avatar, underground newspapers. I've always had like a graphic sensibility.
Yeah.
So I would walk into a bookstore, and what would catch my eye would be like City Lights books, Ferlinghetti and Gregory Corso and all those people. They were very stark, and they were very... the Fugs album. The Fugs were like this really wild band in the 60s. And, I bought the album not knowing what I was going to get, just on the basis of the artwork on the cover. To me, it's always about like whatever artfulness goes into something.
Totally.